almost there.
Dad, I think we're lost.
We're fine. I've got four-wheel drive.
The road wound through tall summer grass, its edges blurring into fields of golden weeds and sleepy wildflowers. The sun slanted low behind the trees, casting shadows that swayed like long, slow dancers across the car windows. Chihiro sat slouched in the back seat, chin resting on her knees, eyes fixed on the wilted bouquet in her lap. Her flowers had drooped hours ago, petals curling like forgotten promises. "I told you not to clutch them so tight," her mother said gently from the passenger seat. "A little water when we get there, they'll perk right up." But Chihiro didn't answer. She didn't believe the flowers would come back. She didn't believe anything would be the same again. Her father hummed at the wheel, eyes on the winding country road. "This is it," he said. "Almost there. It's going to be a whole new start." Chihiro pressed her forehead to the window. Fields gave way to forest, the trees growing closer and taller until they arched above the road like a tunnel of green. It felt like the world was closing in, sealing her away from the city, her old school, her friends. A sign blurred past. She squinted back at it. The characters were faded, the paint peeling. She didn't catch the name. "Daddy, are you sure this is the right way?" she asked. "Of course," he said confidently. "GPS lost signal a while ago, but I've got a good sense of direction." That didn't make her feel any better. They rounded a bend, and the trees opened suddenly onto a small clearing. A squat stone building stood there, crumbling and half swallowed by ivy. A weathered arch stood beside it, its red paint sun-faded and streaked with moss. Beyond it, a tunnel yawned open, cool and dark like the mouth of some waiting beast. Chihiro sat up straighter. "What is that?" Her father pulled the car to a stop on the gravel shoulder. "Let's find out." Before she could protest, both her parents had unbuckled and stepped out. Her mother shaded her eyes, gazing at the tunnel. "It looks old," she said. "Like a shrine entrance, maybe?" Her father laughed. "Shrine or not, it's begging to be explored." Chihiro scrambled out after them, holding the wilted bouquet like a shield. The wind was strange here. It tugged gently at her dress, her hair, like invisible fingers brushing past. "I don't want to go in," she said. Her father turned around, We're not going far, just a look. Stay here if you like. But if this leads to town ruins or something, that'd be pretty cool, wouldn't it? I liked my old town, she muttered. Her mother glanced back at her. It'll be an adventure, Chihiro. You used to love those. That was before the move, before goodbye. She looked at the tunnel again. The inside was dim, but she could make out stone walls slick with damp. The air that flowed from it was cool and smelled faintly of earth and something older, like forgotten incense or a memory. Her parents were already halfway inside, their voices echoing faintly. Chihiro took a step forward, then stopped. The wind rustled the trees, and for a moment, it sounded like a whisper. Come. She froze. No one had spoken. Not really. But something deep in the tunnel felt alive. The hair on her arms prickled. The bouquet drooped lower in her hand. She looked back toward the car, toward the empty road they'd come from. The engine ticked quietly in the warmth, the only sign of life. The sky was turning a deeper gold, the shadows stretching. Just wait here, she whispered to herself. They'll come back out. But the tunnel gaped wider, the longer she stared. The wind whispered louder now. It tugged at Chihiro's hair and the hem of her shirt like an invisible hand urging her forward. Her parents had already disappeared into the tunnel, their voices bouncing faintly off the stone. Come on, Chihiro, her father called. It's just a quick look. She stepped onto the grass. It felt damp, like it had just rained, even though the sky above was a calm, hazy blue. Her feet carried her, almost on their own, over mossy bricks and up to the tunnel's mouth. The arch was cracked and crooked, with ivy clinging to its sides like it had been forgotten for years. She hesitated. Then, Chihiro, are you coming or not? She swallowed hard, hugged her bouquet tighter, and stepped into the dark. The tunnel swallowed the light behind her. The air grew cooler, thick with the scent of stone and damp earth. At first, she walked quickly to catch up. Then she ran. When she emerged on the other side, the world had changed. It was quiet. A gentle breeze drifted through open fields. The sky was still that dreamlike blue. But now it hung over an empty town. Tall wooden buildings lined a cobbled street. Their paint faded, but their signs still swinging gently in the air. Somewhere nearby, water trickled softly. Her parents stood ahead, looking around in amazement. What is this place? Chihiro asked, eyes wide. Her father grinned. An abandoned theme park, maybe. They built a bunch in the 90s, but most shut down. It's beautiful, her mother said, walking ahead. We should have brought our lunch. Chihiro didn't move. Something was off. It wasn't just the silence. It was the way the buildings leaned a little too straight. The way the shadows didn't quite match the sun. Then her dad sniffed the air. Smell that? Chihiro sniffed. A warm, savory scent drifted through the breeze. Noodles in broth, grilled meat, something sweet and sticky. Her mother pointed down a narrow alley. There, restaurants. Steam curled lazily from open stalls. Skewers, dumplings, rice, fish, all perfectly cooked and sitting in open trays, like someone had stepped away for just a moment. Hello? Her father called. Anyone here? No answer. Her mom peeked into a stall. I'm sure they'll be back. We can pay them when they return. Chihiro took a step back. I don't think we should be here. Come on, her dad said, already digging in. I've got cash and credit cards. Her mother joined him with a delighted laugh. It's so tender. Chihiro, try this, her dad offered, holding something that shimmered with sauce. No, thank you, she whispered. She backed away, watching her parents eat. They laughed and reached for more. The plates refilled themselves. Time felt strange, like it had stopped ticking. Then something changed. The light shifted. A soft wind blew past her, colder than before. She turned around. Lamps lit one by one across the street, casting golden halos across the stones. Shadows gathered in corners. Shapes began to stir. From around a corner, a figure emerged. A boy with sharp eyes and wind-tousled hair. He looked directly at her. You shouldn't be here, he said urgently. It's almost night. Go back. Now. What? Chihiro asked. But my parents. Leave before it gets dark, he insisted. I'll distract them. Get across the river. She turned to look back at her parents, but they weren't there. In their place stood two enormous pigs, snorting and rooting through the food trays. Their clothes lay torn beside them. No, she whispered. Daddy, Mommy? The pigs looked up and blinked at her. This isn't real. This isn't real, she murmured. She stumbled backwards, turning to run, but the way back had changed. Water rushed through the path, cutting her off. The river was back. I'm dreaming, she told herself. Just a dream. But the chill in the air, the smell of the food, the distant lantern light, it was all too real. She collapsed onto the ground, shaking. "Wake up," she whispered. "Wake up, wake up." From behind her, voices rose. Not human ones. Ghostly ones. The town had come alive, but not with people. Shapes drifted through the air. Spirits, shadows, strange creatures with blank faces and glowing eyes. The boy was back. He reached for her, holding out a small white ball. "Don't be afraid. Eat this." "What is it?" she asked. "If you don't eat something from this world, you'll disappear." "I don't want to. It won't turn you into a pig, I promise." She looked at the offering, then at her trembling hands, and slowly, with a breath that wasn't quite hers, she took it. Chihiro couldn't stop trembling. Her knees wobbled like jelly, and her breath came out in quick, frightened puffs. The world, this strange, too still world, was changing fast. The light was wrong. The breeze was colder. Her parents were pigs. She had to run. She stumbled through the empty town, down winding alleys, past glowing lanterns and doorways that now whispered with movement. Things that hadn't been there before were now watching. Shapes drifted between shadows. The buildings sighed as if they were alive. She reached the riverbank, but where there had once been a path, dry and grassy, now there was water. Wide, deep, flowing water. A river that hadn't existed just minutes ago. She froze. Her hands clenched the front of her shirt. "This can't be real," she said aloud. "This is just a nightmare." But her voice sounded too small, too alone. She turned around and gasped. The world twisted. The sky deepened into indigo. Lamps shimmered like stars too close to the ground. Ghostly figures floated down the street. Some wore masks. Some had no faces at all. All of them shimmered like dream things. "No, no, no," she whispered, backing away. "Wake up. Please, wake up." She sank to her knees, eyes wide with fear. Her fingers curled into the dirt. Then, light footsteps. A flick of wind. "Don't be afraid," said a voice. She looked up. A boy stood in front of her, dressed in white. His dark hair tousled like he'd stepped out of a storybook. His eyes were serious, but not unkind. "I'm a friend," he said, kneeling beside her. Chihiro didn't speak. "You're starting to fade," he said quietly. She blinked, looked down. Her arms, her legs were becoming see-through. The edges of her body rippled like heat on pavement. "No," she cried. "If you don't eat something from this world," he said, holding out a small, round dumpling, "you'll vanish. It won't hurt you. It won't turn you into anything. But it will let this world see you. I don't want to become a pig. You won't." She stared at the dumpling. It smelled faintly of rice and seaweed, of something warm, something real. Tears welled in her eyes. Then she took it. One bite, chew, swallow. Warmth spread through her belly. The shaking stopped. Her hands reappeared. She was solid again. "There," the boy said. "You'll be okay for now." Chihiro looked up at him. "Who are you?" He stood and reached out his hand. "I'm Haku." She took it. It felt strong and steady. "I'll help you," he said. "But you have to listen carefully. There are rules in this world." "Rules?" "You must find work. A job. If you don't, the sorceress who runs this place, Yubaba, will turn you into an animal, or worse." Chihiro stared at him. "Work?" she echoed. He nodded. Kamaji runs the boiler room. Ask him first. But even if he says no, you must keep asking. Then go to Yubaba. Ask her for work. Don't stop. No matter what she says. But I don't know how to do anything. You're braver than you think. The wind picked up again. In the distance, bells chimed. "There's one more thing," Haku said. He leaned closer. "Don't forget your name." Chihiro blinked. "Why?" "She'll try to take it. If you forget it, you'll forget who you are. And then you'll be trapped here forever." Chihiro swallowed. "I'm Chihiro," she whispered like a promise. "Good," said Haku. "Keep it safe." He turned as a group of frog-like attendants rounded the corner. "No time," he said. "They're looking for you. You'll need to cross the bridge to get to the bathhouse." Chihiro froze. "What if they see me?" "Hold your breath," he said, "until we're across. Even a single breath will break the spell." She took a deep breath. "Now," Haku whispered. "Follow me." They stepped onto the bridge, hand in hand. Chihiro's heart pounded. Her lungs screamed. Spirits passed them, some with arms like wings, others with faces like lanterns. But no one looked at her. She didn't breathe. not until they reached the other side. Then, phew, she gasped, but it was too loud. A frog spirit turned. Its nose twitched. "I smell humans," it croaked. "The stench of humans." Haku turned to her. "Run. Now." Chihiro hesitated. "I'll distract them," he said. "Go out the back gate. Take the stairs all the way down. Find Kamaji. But go. If you want to save your parents, go." She ran. The bathhouse loomed above her like a mountain of steam and gold. Behind her, the world of spirits stirred like a pot about to boil. And ahead, a door, a stairwell, and whatever came next. The stairs seemed to go on forever. Steep, rickety, and carved into the side of the bathhouse like a secret. Only the wind remembered. Chihiro held onto the railing tightly, her fingers trembling. Below, steam curled from mysterious vents. And somewhere far beneath, metal clanged in rhythmic bursts. It smelled like moss, coal, and something ancient. Like the world had boiled for too long and turned into magic. She reached the bottom, heart pounding, and stood before a towering wooden door. There was a small panel beside it, shaped like a sunburst. She raised her hand. It slid open. 100 tiny black shapes scattered like ants in every direction. Soot sprites, round, fuzzy creatures with wide eyes and legs made of nothing but nerve. One dropped a lump of coal and squeaked in alarm. Chihiro stepped inside. "Hello?" A voice echoed from the shadows. "Get to work, you little runts. You want to turn back into soot." She followed the sound through a maze of pipes and gears until she saw him. The man, if you could call him that, had 6 long arms that moved independently, pulling levers, stoking flames, and stirring giant pots. His glasses gleamed, and his mustache twitched with every word. I'm looking for Kamaji," Chihiro said. The figure turned slowly. "I am Kamaji, slave to the boilers that heat the baths." She stepped forward. "Haku sent me. Please, I need work." He didn't even look at her. "I've got all the help I need. These soot balls do just fine." One of the soot sprites dropped its coal again and looked up at Chihiro with twitching eyes. "But I was told I have to work," she insisted, "or I'll be turned into something else." Kamaji grunted returned to turning knobs. Go away. No job for humans here. Chihiro stepped back, her hands curled into fists. Please, please, I'm begging you. Suddenly, a new voice cut through the steam. She's my granddaughter. Chihiro spun around. A tall girl stood in the doorway, her arms crossed, eyebrows raised like they were always in trouble. That's Lynn, Kamaji muttered. She delivers the bath tokens. She wants a job, Kamaji told her. Take her to Yubaba. Lynn stared at Chihiro, then sighed. Fine. Come on, Runt. And can't you even manage a thank you? Chihiro blinked. Oh, thank you very much, sir. Kamaji grumbled. But his mustache twitched like he might be smiling. Lynn dragged Chihiro through a dizzying maze of staircases, sliding doors, and brass elevators that whined with age. The building seemed to breathe around them. Walls that shimmered, lamps that blinked, hallways that rearranged themselves. She lives at the top, Lynn muttered, pointing to a spire that glowed like a furnace. Get ready to beg. As they entered the top floor, the air changed. Heavier, richer, magical. A massive baby bawled in a crib the size of a bedroom. And then, Yubaba. The sorceress stormed into the room with the force of a thundercloud. Her hair stood like a silver crown. Her nose bent like a hawk's beak. Her voice was sharp and dangerous, like broken glass. What is this pathetic creature? She barked. Chihiro tried to stand tall, but her knees knocked together. Please, she whispered. Let me work here. Speak up, Yubaba roared. I want to work. Yubaba loomed over her. You? You're useless. Lazy. Crybaby. Chihiro flinched, but didn't back down. Please, I'll do anything. Yubaba narrowed her eyes. Anything, Even the worst job I've got? Yes. Until you breathe your last breath? Yes. Yubaba smirked. You've got guts. I'll give you that. She conjured a scroll out of thin air. Sign this. Chihiro stepped forward. Where? Right there, Yubaba hissed. She took the brush, signed her name, and felt a ripple through her fingers. Yubaba snatched the scroll. Chihiro-sen. What an extravagant name. I'll take it. The letters shimmered and vanished. You are now Sen, Yubaba said. Sen, Chihiro whispered. No more idle chatter. Yubaba barked. You'll start immediately. Lin, take her. As they left, Haku stood by the door, his expression unreadable. Thank you so much, Chihiro said softly. Remember who you are, he replied. I am Sen, she said. But inside, something ached. She was still Chihiro, wasn't she? Sen stood at the edge of the great bath, a wooden bucket in each hand, and the faint scent of sulfur clinging to her sleeves. Steam floated up from the water like a ghost with no home. Everything here hissed, clattered, and shimmered, but none of it felt familiar. Move faster, Sen, Lin barked, dragging a heavy cloth over the floor. This tub hasn't been scrubbed in years. I'm doing my best, Sen muttered, wiping sweat from her brow. Lin stopped and looked at her. This one's reserved for the filthiest customers. We've got to make it sparkle. So put your back into it, kid. Sen nodded, scrubbing harder. The tiles beneath her hands were slick with grime, but she didn't stop. This wasn't a game. It was survival. First customers on the way, someone shouted from the hallway. Sen blinked. Already? Lin grumbled. Of course. Probably something awful. This tub always gets the worst ones. There was a rumble in the distance. The walls vibrated. Spirits turned to look. Even the frogs in the courtyard froze. What's that smell? Sen asked, wrinkling her nose. Lin's eyes widened. Oh, stink spirit. The words sloshed through the air like mud. Something enormous shuffled into view, heaving and dripping with sludge. Its form barely visible beneath a crust of dirt and debris. A tower of trash and stench and sadness. It made the air thicken. Quick, Lin hissed. Get an herbal soak tag. We'll need it. An herbal what? Tag. Go to the foreman. Sen bolted from the room, dodging soot sprites and flustered frogs. The bathhouse had turned chaotic. Everyone whispered about the guest. Everyone avoided the hall he passed through. She finally found the foreman's window. One deluxe herbal soak, please. He blinked. For who? The stink spirit. He raised an eyebrow. You sure? She nodded. The tag dropped into her palm, warm and glowing faintly green. Back at the bath, the spirit was halfway inside the tub. Sludge sloshed over the edge like soup gone wrong. Everyone backed away, except Sen, who stepped forward, holding the tag like a lantern in the fog. "Welcome," she said, her voice wavering. "Please, relax and enjoy." She slipped the tag into the slot. Pipes hissed. The water turned a deep golden green. The stink spirit groaned. Zen rolled up her sleeves and started scrubbing. Every touch made her gag, but she didn't stop. Grit clung to her arms, and something sharp pricked her fingers. She reached beneath the folds of the spirit side and felt something solid. "A thorn," she whispered. She pulled. It didn't budge. "Lynn," she shouted. "There's something stuck." Within moments, the room filled with workers. They threw ropes around the mysterious shape hidden in the spirit's body. "Pull," Lynn ordered. Sen braced her feet and heaved. Pull. The air filled with a strange gurgling sound. The spirit moaned, and something came loose. Out of the water exploded a twisted metal bicycle, then a pile of trash, more ropes, bottles, wires, an entire riverbank's worth of human junk. The spirit's form began to change, slimming, shining, shedding its cloak of filth. A shimmer passed through the room. Sin stared in wonder. Before her hovered a majestic, dragon-like figure made of water and light. No longer a stink spirit. This was a river spirit, ancient and grateful. He turned to her, and from the air, golden flakes drifted gently into her hands. "Thank you," the spirit whispered, though not with words. Then it rose and vanished into the mist. Silence filled the room. Then, "She did it," someone cried. Sen saved him. Applause broke out. "Gold," a frog shrieked, grabbing at the shimmering flakes in the air. "Gold. It's raining gold." But Sen only stood there, arms shaking, watching the last droplets of light disappear. That night, the bathhouse was alive with celebration. Frogs danced. Lanterns swung joyfully. Sake flowed. Sen sat beside Lynn, her hands still tingling from the spirit's blessing. "You did well," Lynn said, nudging her with an elbow. Sen smiled a little. "I didn't know I could." Lynn raised her cup. "You can." But across the room, something watched her. A quiet, black figure with a white mask. No face. It stood in the shadows, still and silent. Waiting. The celebration from the river spirit's visit faded into memory, replaced by whispers. Strange things were happening in the bathhouse. Spirits murmured of a dragon, wounded and bleeding, falling from the sky like a comet made of storm clouds. Sen had just finished scrubbing bowls in the kitchen when she heard the crash, like thunder striking the roof. She ran outside. There, coiled and broken in the shadows of a tower, lay a white dragon with scales like glass and blood like ribbons of ink. His body was scratched and torn, and paper birds, dozens of them, fluttered around him, biting at his flesh with invisible teeth. Haku, Sen cried, running to him. He twitched, then still. The birds vanished like smoke as she dropped to her knees beside him. "It is you," she whispered. Haku. His chest rose and fell in sharp, shallow breaths. Something shimmered inside his mouth, half swallowed and glowing with a strange, sickly light. Sen didn't know what to do, but she knew she had to do something. She found Lin in the hallway. "Haku's hurt." Sen shouted. "Badly. He's bleeding." "Again?" Lin hissed. "That idiot. Where is he?" Sen pulled her by the sleeve. "Come on. We have to help him." They carried Haku's dragon form into a hidden room beneath the boiler. Kamaji blinked at the sight. "He's stolen something again," the old man muttered. "That's Zeniba's magic on him. She protects her spells with deadly charms." "But he's dying," Sen cried. "Can't you help him?" Kamaji sighed and reached for a small jar. "I can try to ease the pain, but nothing breaks a witch's curse." Sen dug into her pocket, her hands shaking. "The river spirit gave me this," she said, holding up the rest of the enchanted cake. Kamaji squinted. "Could work, if it doesn't kill him first." Sen knelt beside Haku, cradling his dragon head. "Please," she whispered. "Eat it." He didn't move. She reached in, pried open his jaws gently, and pushed the cake between his teeth. "Swallow," she begged. "Please." A second later, Haku convulsed, then vomited a black slug wrapped around a shimmering golden seal. The thing squirmed. Sen didn't wait. She stomped it. Squish. "Good," Kamaji said. "That bug was Yubaba's trick. She uses it to spy." Sen turned the seal over in her hands. "This belongs to Zeniba." Kamaji nodded. "If you want to save Haku for real, return it." A apologize. Ask for forgiveness. Sen looked up. How do I get to her? Swamp Bottom, Kamaji said. 6th stop on the train. A train? She echoed. He handed her 2 crumpled tickets. Been holding on to these for 40 years. Take them. Outside, the bathhouse was growing more chaotic. No face had entered the halls with strange gold and stranger hunger. Spirits fawned over him, feeding him, praising him, taking his gifts. But the more he ate, the larger he grew. And the more he gave, the more they wanted. Something's wrong with that spirit, Lin muttered. Sen barely heard her. She was busy gathering her shoes, her clothes, and her courage. In a quiet moment, she knelt beside Haku. I'm going to make this right, she whispered. You helped me. Now it's my turn. She squeezed his claw gently, like holding hands. I'll come back. I promise. Then she turned toward the track. As Sen reached the edge of the bathhouse, she was surprised to see someone waiting for her. It was No Face. He stood in the shadows, still masked, still silent, but smaller now. Almost sad. Sen had stepped toward him. I'm going on a train, she said softly. If you want to come, you can. No Face didn't reply, but he followed. Behind her, the bathhouse groaned with noise and greed. Ahead, the tracks stretched out over a sea that reflected the sky. She looked back once more at the steaming towers, the glowing windows, the home that had never been hers. Then she stepped forward. The train arrived. With a sigh like wind through reeds, its doors opened. Sen climbed aboard, her shoes echoing softly against the floor. She did not look back. The train glided over the flooded tracks like a whisper across still water. Sen sat by the window, hands folded in her lap, her reflection dancing softly on the glass. The sea beneath the rails stretched endlessly in every direction. An ocean without waves, where power lines dipped into the horizon like fishing lines cast into the sky. Beside her, No Face sat quietly. He hadn't spoken a word since boarding. The greed that once swelled inside him seemed to have drained away. Now he simply watched the world pass by. The gold gone, the silence gentle. In her arms, the mouse, once a baby boy, the size of a boulder, snored faintly, curled like a dumpling. The tiny bird, who used to be Yubaba's spying paper hawk, perched sleepily on Sen's shoulder. None of it made sense, and yet here they were, riding a spirit train through a drowned world to meet a witch at the edge of everything. Sen held the seal tightly in her pocket. Haku, she thought. I'm going to fix this. I'll make things right. The train rocked gently. Shadows of buildings flickered beneath the water as they passed. Half-submerged stations. Lamp posts bent like reeds. Forgotten towns lost in a flood of magic and memory. Next stop, Swamp Bottom, the conductor announced, his voice like a breath of wind through reeds. Sen stood slowly. Her knees wobbled. No face rose, too, and for the first time, he looked hesitant. You can come with me, she said softly. It's safe there, I think. He nodded once and followed. The train slowed. Outside, the platform was covered in moss and tangled vines. It looked like no one had been there for years. But a small house waited just beyond it, chimney puffing like it was expecting guests. Sen stepped off the train and felt the earth squish beneath her sandals. Let's go, she whispered. The front door opened before they even knocked. Come in, said the voice inside. Zeniba looked nothing like her sister. She was smaller, warmer, still a witch, yes, but with eyes that crinkled when she smiled, and a shawl that smelled like lavender. Well, she said, peering over her glasses. So you're the girl Haku nearly died for. Sen bowed deeply. I came to return this. She held out the golden seal. Zeniba took it gently. Ah, you even squashed the bug my sister put on him. Clever girl. I'm sorry he stole from you, Sen said. It wasn't his fault. He was cursed. Zeniba's expression softened. Oh, child, I know. Haku's just a lost soul, like so many others caught in my sister's web. She gestured toward the kitchen. Come. Tea is ready. Inside, everything was warm wood and twinkling lights. A pot bubbled on the stove. Knitting lay unfinished on a chair. Sen, no face, the mouse, and the bird sat quietly while Zeniba poured tea and sliced bread. You've done very well to come all this way, the old witch said. You're stronger than you know. Sen stared down at her cup. I just wanted to help him. Zeniba smiled. And that's what makes you powerful. She reached into a basket and pulled out a thin red thread. "I made this for you," she said, handing it to Sen. "It's woven from the threads of those who helped you on your journey." Sen blinked. "It's beautiful." "Wear it," Seneba said. "It will protect you and remind you you're never truly alone." She tied it around her hair. It glowed softly for a moment, like it recognized her. Then she looked up. "Seneba, I feel like I've known Haku for a long time, but I don't remember." Seneba stirred her tea. That's how it is with real connections. Even if your mind forgets, your heart remembers. The mouse squeaked in agreement. No Face offered her a handful of shiny buttons he'd found by the fire. "I think he wants to stay here," Sen said. Seneba nodded. "He'll be safe. He needs a quiet place to remember who he is." The sky outside dimmed. Evening crept in. Sen stood. "I have to go. Haku's still hurt." Seneba walked her to the door. "You've come far, Chihiro." Sen blinked. "My name is Sen," she said automatically. But something inside whispered, "No, that's not quite right." Seneba smiled. "Take care of your name. It's your most precious belonging." Sen nodded, heart thudding. She waved goodbye. No Face, the mouse, and the bird stood beside Seneba, watching her leave. The path back shimmered like glass. Sen didn't look down. She looked forward. The sky split with silver. Sen gripped the thread in her hair as the wind roared overhead. A white dragon, wings curled like waves, hurtled through the clouds, wounded but alive. "Haku," she called out. The dragon turned sharply. A flurry of paper spirits followed in his wake, but he outpaced them, spiraling downward like a falling star. The world below blurred. Rooftops, rivers, trees turning in slow motion. He crashed beside her. Sen ran to his side, hands trembling, heart pounding. His dragon body shimmered, phasing in and out, like light reflecting on water. He was fading again. "No," she whispered. "Not now. Not when I've come this far." The wind picked up. Suddenly, he rose, lifting from the ground, wings unfurling wide. She reached for him, and he didn't pull away. He carried her into the sky. Up, up they flew, beyond the bathhouse, beyond the clouds, through the veil of wind and sun, Her hair danced like flame behind her. She clung to him, heart full of questions, but not fear. They soared. And then it came to her. She saw herself, much younger, falling into a river. The water had been green and fast, her shoe bobbing out of reach. She had gasped, panicked, kicked, but the river had caught her. Not with force, but with gentleness. It had cradled her like a parent, and she had lived. The Kohaku River, she whispered. That was your name. You saved me. The dragon faltered in midair. I remember now, she said. You're the Kohaku River. Light burst around them like morning breaking through a storm. In a flash of silver and mist, the dragon's form unraveled. Ribbons of water spinning outward, and from them emerged a boy. Not just a boy. Haku. Alive, eyes wide, breathing, free. They floated together, suspended in the air. Wind whistled around them, but inside the moment was only stillness. You remembered, Haku said softly. Sen nodded. Your real name is Niki Hayami Kohaku Nushi. He smiled, and in that smile was something ancient, something washed clean. My contract with your Baba is broken, he said. She can't control me anymore. Tears welled in Sen's eyes. You're free. You gave me my name back, he said. And I remember yours too. She blinked. What do you mean? I knew you when you were little. When you fell into my river, I protected you. Sen's hands trembled. That's why I felt like I'd met you before. Because we did, he said. Long ago. They floated back toward the ground. The sky, once golden, now shimmered with pale pinks and lavender clouds, as if the world itself was exhaling. Haku touched the red thread in her hair. You've changed, he said. So have you. I don't feel lost anymore, he said quietly. Sen looked at her hands. I still feel small, but I'm not afraid now. The clouds broke gently as the bathhouse came into view again. Smaller now, distant, and familiar. Smoke curled from its towers. The world continued turning. I have to find my parents, Sen said. I'll help you, Haku said. I'll take you there. Will she let us go? Haku looked ahead. Yubaba always honors her promises, even if she hates to. They descended together, like leaves riding the wind. 2 names remembered. 2 souls no longer bound. Inside, the bathhouse was strangely quiet. The chatter was gone. The soot sprites slept, and Yubaba was waiting. She loomed behind her ornate desk, her sharp eyes gleaming. Baby toddled at her side, small once more, but standing proudly. His eyes glittered with a secret he refused to share. Well, well, Yubaba said, voice dripping with false sweetness. Look who's returned. Sen stepped forward. I expect you to keep your promise, Sen said, standing straighter. You said if I passed your test, you'd let my parents go. The air held its breath. Very well, Yubaba muttered. With a flick of her fan, golden cards spun into pigs. They squealed softly behind a veil of mist. Your parents are among them, she said slyly. Choose correctly, and you may leave. Choose wrong, and you'll stay here forever. Sen's chest tightened. The pigs were all alike. No father's tie, no mother's earrings, nothing to tell them apart. She closed her eyes. The fear rose, but beneath it, something steadier stirred. She turned back to Yubaba. They're not here, she said. Her voice was clear. None of these pigs are my parents. For a heartbeat, silence. Then, bingo, Baby shouted, clapping his hands. Yubaba's jaw dropped. You meddling little brat. But Baby only clung to Sen's leg. She's my friend, you promised. You have to keep your promise. Haku stepped forward, calm and sharp. The contract is broken, Yubaba. Let them go. Yubaba growled, but her hand flicked. The spell dissolved like smoke. Far beyond the walls of the bathhouse, Sen felt the shift, the weight lifting. They're free, she whispered. Fine, Yubaba snapped. Take them and get out. Sen bowed. Thank you. Out, Yubaba barked. At the gates, Lin was waiting with a crooked smile and a sack of food. Hey, hero. Don't forget us too fast, okay? I won't, Sen promised. The sky brightened to gold. The air smelled of pine and distant rain. edge of the spirit world, Haku slowed. This is where I leave you. Sen's heart tightened. Haku smiled faintly. As long as you remember me, I'll be there. She nodded. The red thread fluttered in her hair. Then she stepped forward, toward the tunnel, toward home. The tunnel stood ahead, dark and familiar. Moss curled at its edges. The wind no longer whispered warnings. It was still, quiet, as though waiting to exhale. Chihiro, stood at the edge of the spirit world, the red thread in her hair fluttering in the breeze. You'll be okay, Haku said gently. She nodded, though her throat tightened. Beyond the tunnel lay her parents, her car, her old life. Behind her, so many strange and beautiful things. Soot sprites, dragon dreams, a house that breathed steam and secrets. A world that had made her braver than she ever thought she could be. I don't want to forget, she whispered. You won't, Haku said. Not really. Even if memories fade, your heart remembers. They stood like that for a long moment, as if time had slowed just for them. The sunlight pooled around their feet. The tunnel behind them darkened slightly, as if the doorway to the human world could sense her hesitation. Finally, Haku stepped back. You have to go, he said softly, before the way closes. Sen nodded. She turned slowly. Don't look back, Haku added. No matter what. The words wrapped around her like a spell. She breathed deeply and walked forward. Each step felt heavier than the last, but also lighter. She passed under the arch. Shadows thickened. The ground turned rough with roots and pebbles. She didn't look back, even when she thought she heard his voice, soft as wind. Thank you, Chihiro. Her name, her real name. The tunnel curved gently ahead, and then there it was. A splash of light. The exit. She stepped out. The air was crisp. The trees swayed gently, and sunlight blinked between the branches. Chihiro, her mother's voice called. Her parents stood a few steps away, brushing dust from their clothes, as if they'd only tripped. What "What were you doing back there?" her mother asked. Her father squinted at the tunnel. "Strange. It looks more overgrown than before. Maybe we lingered longer than we thought." Chihiro didn't answer. Her throat was tight. They walked back to the car. A thin film of dirt coated the hood. Weeds curled around the tires. Her father muttered about the battery, but she wasn't listening. At the tunnel's mouth, shadows clung like a secret. Just bricks, moss, and silence. But she knew better. She touched the red thread in her hair. It shimmered faintly in the sunlight. As the car pulled onto the winding road, her parents talked of groceries and unpacking. Chihiro watched the trees blur past. Her fingers curled around the thread. For a heartbeat, she thought she saw a white dragon gliding between the clouds, scales flashing like water in the sun. When she blinked, it was gone. Her lips curved into a small, knowing smile. She had walked where spirits danced in lantern light, and soot sprites carried coal. She had faced monsters and river gods. She had spoken her name when others tried to steal it. She had remembered who she was. The car turned toward their new home. The breeze slipped in through the window, brushing her cheek. Not a goodbye, but something gentler. A promise.